Hello and good evening, you guys. I believe for the second week in a row, I am a day late on this week's Rockzilla's Weekly Roundup podcast. Now, what I am going to be doing for this video for the second week in a row is I will be using a jersey backdrop again. I did mention, wasn't my last video that I mentioned it might be a jersey backdrop that you might like? Especially for you longtime viewers. But for those of you who do not follow me on Facebook, to those of you who do follow me on the Facebook page, I did decide to give you guys a little something for March since you are followers of the page. That was a first look at a jersey that I got recently. And it is this Minnesota Wild away jersey. And I decided, okay, I'll throw it in for a jersey backdrop. And since my Hurricanes third jersey sitting here, I figured, what the hell, why don't I throw that in too? This was always a decent looking matchup. Well, actually, I'm sure Carolina did have a matchup against Minnesota wearing their away jersey during the Reebok era when they did roll out their third jersey for a game against them instead of their regular home uniform at the time, which looked like a love child of the Detroit Red Wings and Team Canada. Or I used to jokingly call them the Canada-Carolina Hurricanes when they first switched to their very too traditional looking home and away uniforms, even though I do think their away jersey that they just retired is far better than the brand new one that they unveiled last season. Now, I like the simplicity of that uniform. I like the striping, and I also like that the storm squares are prominently around the waist again, which is good. They should be prominent. But the red word mark, it just doesn't work for me. The word mark needed to at least be black. And you know, if you're going to have a word mark on a jersey, I actually don't mind if teams have diagonal word marks on jerseys besides the Rangers. I mean, when Colorado has had their two third jerseys in their history that have said Colorado on the front, I actually think that both of them, especially the first alternate jersey that they had, were great uniforms. The blue one I didn't like as much because it was half finished and it didn't have any waist striping, but the blue with the burgundy shoulder yoke actually looked really good. And as for Pittsburgh, every jersey that they've had, including their new reverse retro that has Pittsburgh on the front, I actually think they look pretty good. And their new reverse retro, even though I do wish that at the minimum they would have actually put their main crest on the shoulders with the triangle behind it instead of what's on their third jersey, which is the triangle-less penguin. Or I actually think it would have been a really nice opportunity for Pittsburgh to put the corporate penguin logo on the shoulders, famously known as the Robo Pigeon. But yeah, no, with every jersey that I've seen from Colorado and Pittsburgh that has a diagonal word mark on the front, in my opinion, has always looked good. I like every one that both of those teams have done, including Pittsburgh's brand new reverse retro jersey that probably will only be worn for this season. But I actually think it would be a better third jersey than their current yellow one, because to me, it looks like a muscle shirt with some sleeves sewn onto it. Seriously. I mean, it's nice to see Pittsburgh with a yellow third jersey, well, or Pittsburgh gold or whatever you want to call it. But hey, I mean, at least the reverse retro has some decent striping. Now, I'm glad Pittsburgh has their third jersey. I'm glad that they're using that beautiful Pittsburgh gold color. But I don't like how plain that jersey is. If they wanted to stick with something so damn similar to the Stadium Series uniform, you know, why didn't they just use the Stadium Series uniform? Imagine that with the new Adidas collar in solid black. It would have been fine. That jersey would have had a seamless transition from the Edge template to the Adizero template. You know, they just did enough changes that they were able to say, okay, we have a new third jersey now, which was stupid. They would have been better off, in my opinion, just taking the Stadium Series uniform from 2017 and putting that onto the new Adidas Adizero template that you see here. But yeah, a quick thing I want to mention with this jersey though, as much as I hate these Adidas collars, especially the ones with the 3 laces, this subtle little 3 stripes advertisement, in my opinion, and these ugly collars, especially Minnesota's away jersey collar, yikes. I got a pretty damn good deal on it. And you know what? It's also, for me, this is the first Adidas jersey that I own that actually uses the Adidas cresting technology rather than a felt crest or just a basic crest like my NHL 100 Classic sweater. I do have one of those, and you know, I gotta be honest, I am gonna miss that jersey. But if Ottawa did want to bring their reverse retro out next season as a full-time third for another season or two, I think that would be all right too. But I do wish that the numbers on it would be white with black trim instead of black with white trim, because I find that it desperately needs something to brighten that uniform up, especially because of the black striping without any white. That's why in between the black stripes on that jersey, they needed to have white, a white stripe filling in, or sorry, I'm having a brain fart. But between those black stripes on the arm of each arm on their reverse retro jersey, it needs to be solid white to help brighten that jersey up. And then a white stripe on the bottom below the black stripe on the waist to give it that much needed color balance. And if they do that, I think that's a great third jersey for a while. Yeah, it's a simple flip of their home and away jerseys, but you know what? I gotta say, it does look decent. Now, speaking of decent, it did look decent against the Maple Leafs St. Pat's throwbacks. Toronto, I believe, is going to be wearing them for one more game. Honestly, I love that Toronto continues to do the St. Pat's throwback every year. It's a wonderful touch. That sweater is a staple around St. Patrick's Day, and I hope Toronto continues to wear it. It's for 1 or 2 games a year. They could even add a 3rd game in March every year, and I think that would be great. But, you know, hopefully after they retire this reverse retro disaster dumpster fire of a uniform the Leafs are decided to approve, I hope that they bring back the Centennial Classic jersey. That should be a 3rd jersey, for even if they only kept it for another 2 or 3 seasons. It deserves to be brought back. It was great. You know, I would be willing to wait a few years for a decent throwback from Toronto if that meant that we got to see the Centennial Classic jersey have a little bit of longevity and stick around as a 3rd jersey. It is, in my opinion, one of the most criminally underused jerseys in NHL history. I kid you not. That's how I feel. It was such a pretty jersey. The only 2 things I would have done differently with the Reebok version of it would have been 1, a white collar, and number 2, blue veins inside the Maple Leaf logo instead of silver. Those were the only 2 changes I would make. That would be perfect. But now they could bring it out with a solid royal blue Adidas collar without laces, and they could add or replace the silver veins in the Leaf with blue veins, and I think you've got a great 3rd jersey. Because when you do laces on Adidas jerseys, like you see right here, it's a disaster. It really is. So, well, obviously I'm biased, eh? I'm sure somebody out there will disagree with me, but Adidas jerseys with laces, whether it's these Adidas 3 stripes, sorry, laces, or their lame excuse of a lace-up collar, laces on Adidas jerseys look awful. There is a reason that most teams with this reverse retro jersey program decided to go with solid collars. There's a reason. Because teams are finally understanding that when you do something like what the Wild have done with their away jersey, where you've got the collar insert one color and the rest of the collar another, it looks bad. It just looks bad. I mean, I will mention this here too, because I did mention it on Facebook. I think it should be mentioned here, but I don't know why Adidas and the NHL teams haven't even at least thought of saying, hey, this little portion here to the left of my index finger here, why can't they color screen print that in forest green on each side so that it looks like a red triangular collar insert? Even something as minor as that, in my opinion, would be an improvement. But I have been hearing some interesting little rumblings lately that maybe, just maybe, Adidas is either going to be doing some type of new jersey material for their jerseys next season, or who knows, maybe there is finally a new template coming out. If there is, can you please make it look more like this, Adidas? That's all myself and a lot of my viewers, you know, even something close to that would be something that me and a lot of you viewers out there who watch my channel probably would all agree that would be a big improvement. Even something more like the CCM Quick Light collar would be an improvement. At least that's my 2 cents. So, unfortunately, I do have to do a bit of channel talk. I've been very frustrated over the past 8 days. Ever since last Sunday, I've been having issues uploading videos. I don't know what the hell has been causing it. Maybe it's the app that's on my phone, the YouTube app. Maybe it's even my internet. But I actually think it's the app that's been giving me problems. For the second upload in a row, I actually deleted the app off my phone and re-downloaded it. And then all of a sudden, bam, I can upload videos again. So tonight is going to be an interesting, but it's going to be an interesting time trying to upload this video, and I'm not looking forward to it. But if I do get this video uploaded tonight, before the stroke of midnight Pacific Standard Time, before 1 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, because I think it's almost midnight as I'm filming this now, then I'm going to know that, okay, my internet should be back to being good enough that, okay, I'm going to be able to hopefully consistently upload videos again for the first time in almost 2 weeks. It's been frustrating, and I'm not happy about it. But also another thing, I have not had time to update old video titles. That sucks. But something else I do need to mention too. I did a little mini 2-part video series on my thoughts on these recent conversations that have been, or ongoing talks that are taking place between the XFL and the CFL. And I would not be surprised if we don't see a merger. I don't think the CFL is going to want to end over a century worth of Canadian football history. But I do think there is, if they don't do that, which I don't think they will, I would be surprised for all the wrong reasons if that did happen. But I do think that what will probably come out of this is we're going to see a new partnership with the XFL and the CFL. And I think it could be one that gives the CFL some desperately needed exposure in the United States, especially if there are teams like the St. Louis Battlehawks that are actually getting a very favorable following. Well, we're getting a great following before you know what shut the world down and has caused this awful pandemic for the past year. Once that's gone and we can see the XFL come back for a third time, hopefully three times the charm here, you know, once it comes back, if a team like the Battlehawks all of a sudden has a big following again, and they have maybe a couple really good players playing for, I don't know, the Toronto Argonauts, who desperately need bums in the seats of their stadium. Like, they needed that 10 years ago. They needed that 15 years ago even, you know? Maybe you'll have more fans in, say, St. Louis who are Battlehawks fans saying, hey, I want to watch the Argonauts. Or maybe you'll have a Battlehawks fan or two that live up in New York or something that say, oh, let's cross the border and buy some Argonauts tickets for 30 bucks Canadian or whatever, which is like, what, 22 bucks American? Can't beat that price. And go watch a game. So a partnership, I think, could be good, but a merger, I'd hate to see it. I'd hate to see our unique style of football here in Canada be gone. Hopefully that's not going to happen, but I am worried about it because I get it. The CFL doesn't make a lot of money. And they barely make enough to survive on a year-to-year basis. So, you know, if they can just do enough to get back this year, see the pandemic end, and start to return to some type of normal with an XFL partnership, maybe they can help make up for the losses that they've had with this pandemic. That would be nice. I don't want to see anything happen to the CFL, except for the CFL to add a 10th team in the Maritimes. It should have happened in 1984, and 37 years later, I honestly am rooting for the Maritimes to finally make it happen. But with what's been going on, yeah, we might be waiting even longer. And that wouldn't surprise me because right now, you know, the Maritime provinces desperately need the money to help deal with the pandemic. They should not be worrying about sports teams. And I think most, if not all of you, will hopefully agree with that. Yes, sorry to be being rather biased saying that, but yeah. I'm going to jump into a little tiny bit of NHL talk. What was I going to say? I do think the Ducks are either have recently finally brought it out or they are getting ready to finally wear their white Wild Wing uniform. For the purpose of the reverse retro program, I do tip my hat to the Ducks for making a lot of people happy with the Wild Wing Duck jersey coming back with a white version of it this time around 26 years later. I mean, I tip my hat to the Ducks for saying, okay, let's have some fun with this. But, you know, I gotta say, it's going to be a fun little experiment. Even I agree that, you know, to see Wild Wing for a game or two in my lifetime is going to be interesting. But I think that the Ducks should have done a Jade reverse retro of their Mighty Ducks jerseys. That would be a major, major seller. Trust me on that. Missed opportunity there, even though I do think the Wild Wing isn't really much of a missed opportunity by going with that at all, because I have heard it's been one of the top sellers. And, you know, by doing that now, if they do another reverse retro program of some sort, guess what? There's a great option right there that they're probably going to do. And guess what? Instead of having one great seller, you'll have two. And if you're the Ducks, I don't blame you for that. Also, let's see. Detroit is thankfully done wearing their reverse retro. I hope that uniform never, ever gets used again. I can't get over how how frustrated I was seeing an Original Six franchise wearing such a garbage uniform. I mean, I would rather see the Montreal Canadiens, since they've already gone against a century of history with their red sweater by doing a blue flip of it. I would rather see the Montreal Canadiens make that blue reverse retro jersey of theirs a third jersey for another season or two than to ever see the Red Wings bring out that uniform or the 2016 Stadium Series uniform ever again. And I'm one of the few people who would tell you that Montreal should not be wearing blue. But when I look at teams like Toronto and Detroit and what they've done, Montreal could have done a whole lot worse, believe me. I mean, the jersey I do think looks nice, but to me, it's weird seeing Montreal in blue. To me, it's not right. It would be like Toronto wearing red. I would just think to myself, what? What the hell is this? I mean, you might say, oh, well, Roxilla, what about the St. Pat's throwbacks? They're wearing green instead of blue. Well, that's because they're wearing a throwback to the Toronto St. Patrick's. As their time in the franchise history as the Maple Leafs, they did have a short time in the 40s, I believe, where it said Toronto Maple Leafs inside the logo. the words Toronto Maple Leafs were in red writing instead of blue on their blue sweater. That's it. And also, another little exception, they have used silver on their uniforms throughout the past 25 years. They've had silver accenting on their home and away jersey numbers. They had the silver on their TML shoulder patch, which that was awful for an original 6 team. Also, they obviously had silver with their Centennial Classic uniform as well. So, I get that, but, you know, at least silver's not going to give Toronto a gray jersey, even though it did sadly give us a gray heavy reverse retro jersey. But anyway, there is one particular reverse retro uniform that I do want to talk about. Actually, I'm lying. There's two. First off, the Philadelphia Flyers reverse retro, it's actually grown on me to the point that I hope they retire their black third for it. I think the reverse retro actually deserves to stick around for another season or two at least. It's pretty good. I mean, would I prefer them to retire that in favor of the actual sweater or jersey that they did wear in the 80s and throughout the 1990s? Yes. I would prefer that throwback from the 80s and 90s to come back. The orange one, not the black one that was brought in as a third jersey in the late 90s, I believe. But the orange jersey from the Eric Lindros era, where he played alongside the likes of John LeClair and who else? I think Ron Hextall. Yeah, Ron Hextall as well. You know, that jersey and uniform, if they brought that out as a heritage uniform, that would be great. But if they don't, though, at the same time, I do think the reverse retro, I do notice it is being worn for about 6 or 7 games this year, which is a lot more than quite a few NHL teams or other teams in the NHL. But if they did want to keep that as a third, I think it would be a good choice. I do, as much as their new third jersey has grown on me to the point where I do think that for being something different, it is a nice change up for Philadelphia to wear once in a while, even though it's not my favorite uniform. I do think the reverse retro is 10 times better. I actually think it's third jersey material. That's how much it's grown on me. But anyway, the final reverse retro and the final portion of this video that I want to get into actually, thankfully, happens to be the Boston Bruins. So I noticed that back on the weekend, they did end up pulling out the reverse retro uniform for another game. I'm very happy about that because I do think it is good enough to deserve at least 2 or 3 games worth of use. I do think their current third is better than that jersey and uniform, to be honest. But I will say this. If Boston eventually decided to make that their third jersey and retire their current one, I actually would be okay with that. It's not... I do think their current third is a lot nicer. I actually really like it, and I don't know how many people like it as much as I do. But I do think Boston's current third is really good. I love that they used their 2019 Winter Classic uniform as the inspiration to say, okay, we're going to do a dark colored design based off of this because of the Winter Classic and based off of different designs we wore in the 1940s. And we're going to give our fans something that's a cross between those as something new. And I think it actually is one of the nicer third jerseys in the NHL right now, to be honest. But actually, there's one thing I want to do here, and just bear with me for a moment here. Okay, so with the Boston Bruins, yeah, it's... What was I going to say? I lost my track of thought. So, I honestly really like their third jersey. And I would not mind seeing Boston keep it around. As for the reverse retro, I do think it was nice to see Boston actually do a yellow reverse retro. Or a gold, or whatever you want to call it. It looks good. But I gotta be honest, I don't like the thin yellow stripes separating the black and the white inside the sets of striping that you see on the waist and on the arms of this jersey. And for the reverse retro, I am also not a fan of the white on the cuffs of the arms. That was the one big glaring mistake that frustrates me the most about the Boston Bruins reverse retro jersey. That's the one major change that they should not have done compared to that prototype I showed before, where it actually had some black on the cuffs of the arms instead of white. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this ironically at the beginning of the video, that unlike 99% of my, or 95% of my weekly roundup videos, this one is actually, for the most part, except for this moment in time, a video full of some type of visual element throughout the video. But I've got something a little bit extra for you guys this week. But I've actually made a concept showing what I would have done, or I would do, if I took Boston's reverse retro jersey and tweaked it so that, at least in my biased opinion, it would be a future third jersey that is awesome. So this is a concept, and if you do follow me on Discord, you already know what it is. But this is what I would have done. I eliminated the gold stripes inside of the striping here and here and here. And it looks a whole lot better. Notice the cuffs of the arms are actually black instead of white. And unlike the Addy Crap collar that it actually came with, I replaced it with a Reebok collar because it looks better. Obviously, of course, I'm biased, eh? And there is the back of it. So I think I made the nameplate here a little bit off center. I got to fix that later on, but at least for the purpose of this video, you get to see this concept that I put together. But and also notice that ugly bear on the shoulders, aka meth bear, is not on the shoulders here. Looks better without it. Looks better without him on there at all. Way better. And also note, I kept the yellow socks that the Bruins not only brought back for their reverse retro uniform, but they should be worn with their home uniform at all times. It really should be worn with their home uniform at all times. But yeah, you know, this I think would be a great future third jersey design for the Bruins. But if I did have my way though with Boston, I do think that Winter Classic uniform from 2010, I think it deserves to have a season or two being used as a full-time third jersey. At least that's my view. But if they did want to take their reverse retro and tweak it like I've done here and make this a third jersey, I think a lot of people, including myself, would be pretty big fans of that. But yeah, I thought I'd throw that in as a little extra something for you guys this week. But once again, I have been having internet issues for the past 8 days. I'm hoping that they're now resolved, or either internet or YouTube issues. But if you're finding that I'm not really getting videos up between now and next Sunday or next Monday with the way things have been going, that is 90% likely. There's a 90% chance that's why. It's not me. It's technical difficulties. But anyways, guys, before this becomes exactly 30 minutes in length or more, I'm going to call it a wrap on this video. I hope it was worth your time. And hopefully this week, I'm going to finally start to have some time to do some of the video projects that I want to do. There's quite a few of them. I got a myriad of different things I got to do, whether it's videos or life in general. So I'll do the best I can. I hope that this video was a good video for you if you stuck around. And until my next video, take care. And of course, as always, bye for now.